Right, thank you for sticking with it, thank you for coming back. We're on part 2 of the very peculiar night, and this is basically just film which has survived the carnage one way or the other. All of it was on my camera, apart from the last few bits which I've done since the disaster. So doing our best, at least we'll get something out. Here we go, enjoy. Here I am doing the Tomlit and watching the Malta Story once again. I rather like that film anyway, and I don't think this is showing up particularly wonderfully, but I was going to show it just as a blank red and then show how I'd put the low lights in and then show how I'd put some detail on to make it look like fabric. But I forgot to do all of that, so there we are. And to make matters worse, I wasn't going to do it red. I was going to do the other one red. So this one should have been dark blue. Or deep blue. What do you think? Oh, I don't know. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Right? Consequently, I've ended up perching this dramatically on a weird shelf full of other cradola, which we will come to another day. It's a massacre. Arms and legs everywhere, ruined ships, people. Anyway, so what have I done? Painted it blue, changed my mind because it looked too cold. And let's face it, if I make the other one of these and do it with red metal armour, and the idea of the red skirt is a bit too much as well. So I've gone back to red. I've used the blue as a nice base though, so that's actually worked out quite alright. I've put a vague pattern in. Now, if I were worried about this, and you'll see why I'm not in a minute, I wouldn't have done the swirls just as a straight, or straight onto this surface. I would have accounted for the fact that there's a pleat and that the line would come out in a different position. But this is going to have two poldroon. It's one of those mornings again. Can't remember. Tassets. A fold of lames has tassets. There's your fold of lames. The tassets hang off. This has two very large tassets, strangely attached. And they're going to cover up a lot of that front. And then there's the two bands down here which you would imagine would be gold. So that accounts for that. How I've taken that long to say I've repainted it red and put some swirls on, I don't know. You know me. And I've matched the straps to the same colour. I'll tidy those up when they're dry because they're still wet. It's sort of moderately common that you would have matching straps just to show a bit of style and self-respect. Meanwhile, Robin Hood's on the telly. There he is. Oh no, yeah, there he is. And Friar Tuck. That's how to spend your Saturday morning, isn't it? Making models and watching 1950s Robin Hood TV series. Fantastic. And I found this image on the internet, which is the Aurora chrome version, and it shows, in particular, the skirt is very weird because they've painted the metal lames, the horizontal bits, the same colour as the vertical fabric. So I don't think they even knew what they'd got. They just, whatever. So worth showing that, I suppose. I had quite a few of those chrome ones, including this one. It's weird stuff to paint on in glue, anyway. Right then, time for a bit of catching up. Most of the metalwork is there, and definitely the fabric is how I want it. Added a some detailing on the red, and creaky floorboard, and thin gold bands, which allow the red to show through a little, which I'm happy with, and that's pretty much how I want it. The metalwork needs just a little bit of finessing, just pulling together, particularly with the tassets, these bits. I'm going to do another layer of silver so that the dark sits lower, the low lighting sits lower, then glue them in place and then blend everything together. So I think that's where we're up to so far. I am pleased that this looks alright in plain metal. That's good news. It might have just not worked, but it's okay. So that's what's next. And I suppose we're about halfway with this. And I've got the metal just where I want it. Certainly all the armour I've encountered that's in use, rather than just standing around in a museum, tends to have a kind of white quality, a combination of constantly being scratched and scraped and constantly being not exactly polished but kind of buffed almost to polish, and the metalwork tends to have a fascinating surface. I don't know what to call it. It's almost, because it's goes through this process, the kind of buffing and scraping thing, it has an almost fibrous surface, and that I think that is almost universal in non-display armour due to use, and that's what I've tried to get here. Sort of noticeable on the helmet and the breastplate in particular. Anyway, blah blah blah, metal surface, that's what I've aimed for. The very interesting thing is this fella's posture is diabolical, and I'm not quite sure why, because I remember it from when I was a kid, and I did it. Yeah, comedy moment. But he leans back too much, and I think it's something to do with this base for his legs, because the moment I put his legs on I had a flashback and I thought, oh yeah. So when I make the other one I might alter the tilt of that base in there. Now I've got the base on the sitting on the ridges it's meant to sit on, so this is how he's supposed to be. And sometimes with armour you do lean back a little, but that's too much, it's way too much. So very peculiar. I mean, I can work on a bit of a lean when I put his feet on, but then he'll still have a very strange posture just leaning forward. I don't think that's going to be a happy medium. But anyway, there we are with most of him done. He's in a very strange position as well, isn't he? He looks like he's steering an electric scooter. But anyway, there he is, coming on nicely and going the way I want it, which it makes a very nice change. And I think I've got to sort his feet out really, and then we'll start moving along again. The roundels at either armpit, sometimes variously known as begasaurs, bessagues, all sorts. It's not worth getting hung up on the names of parts of armour, because most of them are codified by the Victorians, and medieval times they just call a suit of armour a harness and use general terms, or local terms, so it's not worth the bother. But anyway, there they are. I've lowered them a bit, and I've turned that one round, because that cutaway is for the lance to go in when it's couched under your armpit. So on the box it's sort of in the wrong place, and they're sitting too high because they're supposed to cover your vulnerable armpit when you put your arm up. So I have moved them down a little. As for the hands, as for the hands, desperate measures. This is, he's just, his feet don't fit. I'll show you that later. And I thought I'd got him just right, and then he toppled head first onto the ground. Luckily no serious damage was done. Well, so far so good on the making a film front. So far so something on making a suit of armour front. Thank you for being here, and we'll try and get this one completed in the next section. Cheers.